Hello there, Price of Reason here with a special report. Last week I made this video about an article from Tassi of Forbes, and in that video I was discussing an article that he wrote about content creators like Star Wars Theory, Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, and Outpost. Now in the article, he was just seemingly innocently highlighting a campaign that was launched against them, a very coordinated campaign, which was trying to demonetize them and cancel them by people who seemed, at least on the surface, rather close with Lucasfilm, the company that actually released the show. I have an issue with things like that because I believe that people should be able to criticize a TV series. So if you don't like a TV series, I think that's legitimate and you should be able to say it. But apparently Paul Tassi doesn't feel that way, and he really amplified this campaign against these content creators, something that really upset me. And I say upset because there's a lot of things that annoy me, but when I saw that there was an effort to take people's livelihoods away from them just for not liking a series, it really bothered me. And I guess at some point Star Wars Theory himself must have seen that same article I was talking about, and he himself made a video talking about his disappointment from Paul Tassi of Forbes. Now, ideally, in a perfect world, Paul from Forbes should have let this one go. That would have been the right play. Instead, today, Paul Tassi of Forbes, he went to Twitter and he showed some kind of screenshot where somebody, apparently, according to him, sent him a text message to his phone where he was called some bad names. Now, I want to make something clear. The fact that he received a text and somebody was using bad language to describe him, I'm 100% against that. I've never endorsed that. On the contrary, I think that that's bad. I also think that from what I've seen on Star Wars Theory's channel, I don't remember him ever saying that that's what he wants people to do. Most responsible creators actually say not to bother journalists, not to bother people, not to bother detractors. It's never a good idea to bully or harass anybody. But what happened here is that Paul Tassi of Forbes went and described this situation as coming from Star Wars Theory's community. Just to quote him, he said, "Hey Star Wars Theory, what kind of community have you cultivated here exactly?" I then actually responded to Paul Tassi, and I said, "So you get one text, and you're blaming Star Wars Theory, a guy with over 3 million followers? He's supposed to be responsible for all of them? Are you serious?" And I didn't curse Paul Tassi, I didn't say anything bad, I was just asking a legitimate question. A guy with over 3 million followers can't be responsible for all 3 million followers. Not to mention that we really don't know who sent this text. The bottom line here is that you can't really use this as a sample to talk about an entire community. And really, when you think about it, that is exactly what I had an issue with in his article. In his article, there was a tweet where somebody said something to an actor on Rings of Power and said, "Oh, soon you'll get the Acolyte treatment." And Paul Tassi said, "Look, because of this type of community like Star Wars Theory and Nerdrotic and Geeks and Gamers and people that follow them, that's why this person on Rings of Power got this awful text." And the thing is, what I had said at the time is, when you're on a show and you're getting paid a ton of money to be on there and it's watched by millions, statistically, there will always be some rotten person. There's always bad apples. You can't stop out of millions of people, a few people from being bad. And even within the thread where I responded, a few people said some really great things. Somebody was talking about the fact that you have these kind of K-pop bands and Taylor Swift. I know myself that in the past, if I said something about Taylor Swift that wasn't favorable, I got some nasty responses. And it is what it is. I mean, that happens sometimes. You're not going to be able to please everybody on the internet. And when you're sort of a public personality figure or even a so-called journalist in a magazine like Forbes, if you're going to continue to talk negatively about communities that have millions of people in them, it could be at the end that some bad actor in one of these would somehow send a text. And I'll give Paul Tassi the minimum benefit of the doubt that maybe he did receive this thing, but when I responded to him, I feel like I responded really reasonably, and his response was that he blocked me. And that again shows you the same problem that I keep saying. It can't be that there's a guy that's pretending that he's all high and mighty, working for some fancy magazine. He goes, he makes an accusation, an umbrella accusation about over 3 million people. I said a comment and immediately I'm blocked. This is really, really shitty behavior. It is shitty behavior, and I think that when this kind of access media, they seem puzzled why people don't take them seriously anymore, why these legacy media outlets aren't considered as reputable as they were in the past, is that people are just sick of this. You can't go start a war with millions of people, and then the second the shit hits the fan, you go and hide and run away. You either stand behind what you said or you don't. And the fact that I wrote this really mild comment here, which was just asking him a serious question, and that he would just run away, it really says a lot about him. And now some of you may say, well, what do you care? Don't even pay attention to him. And the truth is, I really don't have a choice but to pay attention to him. He does work for a magazine that does have some type of name. Now, I think that some normies would actually see this and think, oh, look at what's happening. I saw that back in the day in 2017 with The Last Jedi, where the mainstream media really wanted to push that narrative that all the people that didn't like The Last Jedi, they didn't like Asian women or something like that. Nothing could be further from the truth. They still try to peddle that same exact narrative falsely, and even in this latest article from Forbes, they continue to push this same thing over and over again. They don't even care. They'll rewrite history just so it fits whatever narrative that they want, but at the end of the day, the main goal here is to silence people like us. And I said this before, it's not just about Star Wars theory, it's not just about Nerdrotic. These big creators are being targeted in such a way by these type of establishments. If we don't say something, we're next. This is just an attempt to silence a whole movement of people that wants to talk about things, and the way they figure they'll do it is by attacking these big players. But it's not only them that they're attacking. There is free speech, and they're attacking that, and I absolutely can't stand that. And that's why I've been more vocal now than I've ever been, and this Paul Tassi guy, I thought he was acting in bad faith. I also posted on my own Twitter, update. Today, Paul Tassi of Forbes allegedly received a hateful text message for which he blamed Star Wars Theory's followers. In response, I explained to Paul that Star Wars Theory has over 3 million followers and that there's no way that he could personally be responsible for the action of each and every one of them. At this point, rather than responding, Paul Tassi decided to block me. For the record, I want to clarify two things. Number one, I am 100% against bullying or harassing people via text messages, even when those people are soy enthusiasts like Paul Tassi of Forbes. Number two, it shows very poor character from a legacy media quote-unquote journalist like Paul Tassi that he blocks people and runs away in the manner that he did today. It only highlights the bigger problem we have these days with such pompous, arrogant, self-entitled journalists who, in my opinion, continue to operate in bad faith. And yes, a lot of people have been very supportive of this tweet, and I genuinely appreciate it. I've gotten a lot of supportive comments. I think people here know that I try to have real conversations with people. I think that Paul Tassi, over the years, I've seen him say a lot of things that I didn't agree with, and that I thought he went about doing things in a way that I didn't prefer. I went back and forth with him on different occasions. Usually, to his credit, he actually didn't block me. It's funny that today, when I really just gave a very kind of measured response, that he would seemingly melt down, block me, and run away like this. But I guess this is what we're dealing with. It could be that maybe a lot of these reporters feel like they're on the Titanic and they're trying to grasp but still remaining relevant. Anyhow, just wanted to give you this update and thank anybody who's been supporting me and this channel. If you like what I do here, please consider subscribing and getting notifications and liking the video. Thank you, and good day.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos.